Winter came early to the wide valley. Snow covered the land in clean white layers, hiding the dry grass and old paths. The hills looked soft under the cold sky, and the wind moved slowly but sharply through the open space. At the far edge of the valley stood a small ranch, alone and quiet. The ranch belonged to a man named Tom. He was a widowed rancher who had lived there for many years. Life had changed for him after his wife passed away. The house that once held laughter and warm voices now stayed silent most days. Tom kept himself busy to avoid thinking too much. He woke before sunrise, fed his animals, repaired fences, and worked until his body felt tired enough to rest. Tom did not talk much. He believed work was better than words. The land understood him, and he understood the land. Still, when evening came, the silence felt heavy. Winter made it worse. Nights were long, and memories often returned when the fire was low. That day was Christmas Eve. Tom did not mark the day with decorations or songs. For him, it was another cold day to survive. He finished his work early because dark clouds gathered fast. The wind grew strong, carrying the smell of snow. He looked toward the sky and knew a storm was close. He led the horses into the barn and locked the doors tight. He checked the fence one last time, then walked back to the house with slow steps. Snowflakes had already started to fall. They landed on his coat and melted, leaving dark spots. Inside the house, the fire burned quietly. The room was small but clean. A wooden table stood near the window. On it rested a candle and a simple meal. On a shelf near the wall stood a single photo of a woman smiling gently. Tom glanced at it but did not stop. He had learned to move past pain by not looking too long. As evening came, the storm arrived fully. Snow fell thick and fast. The wind hit the walls of the house and made low sounds like a warning. Tom sat near the fire, holding a warm cup in his hands. The heat helped his fingers, but his thoughts stayed cold. He stared into the fire, watching the flames dance. He thought of past winters, of shared meals, of voices that once filled the room. He pushed those thoughts away. He told himself that the night would pass like all others. Then he heard something unexpected. A sound came from outside, faint but clear. It was not the wind. It was not an animal. It was a knock. Tom stood still. His heart beat faster. No one came to his ranch during storms. The nearest town was far, and travelers avoided this land in winter. The knock came again, stronger this time. Tom stood up and walked slowly to the door. He hesitated for a moment, then opened it. Cold air rushed inside. Snow blew past his boots. In front of him stood 3 women, wrapped in thick blankets. Their faces were tired, and their clothes were covered in snow. Their eyes were alert but calm. They were Apache women. One of them stepped forward slightly. She looked older than the others, with steady eyes and a strong presence despite the cold. Her voice was soft but clear. "I need a shelter," she said. Tom looked at them carefully. He saw no threat, only exhaustion. The storm behind them grew louder. Snow covered the ground fast. He knew that leaving anyone outside in such weather meant danger. Without saying much, he stepped aside. "Come in," he said. The women entered the house slowly. Tom closed the door and blocked the wind. The firelight filled the room again. The women stood near the door, unsure. Their hands shook from the cold. Tom added more wood to the fire. Flames rose higher, spreading warmth. He poured water into cups and placed them on the table. "Sit," he said gently. They sat on the chairs and bench near the wall. One woman held her cup tightly with both hands. Another looked around the room, careful and quiet. "My name is Tom," he said after a moment. The woman who spoke earlier nodded. "I am Maya," she said. "This is Niala and this is Roa." Tom nodded back. He gave them bread from his small supply. They accepted it with thanks and ate slowly. The room stayed quiet for a while. Only the fire made sound. Tom sat on a chair across from them, keeping space. He did not want to make them uncomfortable. "You live alone," Neela said softly, her eyes moving around the room. "Yes," Tom replied. Maya noticed the photo on the shelf. She did not ask about it, but understanding crossed her face. Loss was something she knew well. "We were traveling," Maya said after some time. "The storm caught us." "You can stay tonight," Tom said. "The storm will not end soon." Roa looked relieved. "Thank you," she said quietly. Tom nodded. "I do not turn people away in winter." The wind outside grew stronger. Snow hit the windows, covering the world beyond the walls. Inside the house, warmth slowly settled in. The women relaxed a little. Their shoulders lowered. Their breathing slowed. Tom felt something unfamiliar. The house felt less empty. The fire felt warmer. He realized how long it had been since he shared his space with others. They did not talk much. Words were not needed. Safety spoke for itself. Trust began to grow, slow and careful, like a small seed in frozen ground. As the night deepened, Tom looked at the 3 women and thought about how strange life could be. On a night he expected to pass alone, fate had knocked on his door. Outside, the storm covered the land, hiding tracks and paths. Inside, 4 lives rested under one roof, brought together by cold, chance, and kindness. Christmas Eve passed quietly, but nothing about it felt ordinary anymore. Morning came slowly. The storm had not ended, but the wind was softer. Snow still fell, though not as heavy as the night before. Pale light entered the small house through the window, touching the walls and the quiet room. Tom woke early, as always. For a moment, he forgot that others were there. Then he heard soft movement and remembered the night before. He stood up carefully so he would not wake anyone. The fire had almost died, so he added wood and watched the flames return. Maya was the first to wake. She sat up and looked around, alert but calm. When she saw Tom, she nodded. "Good morning," Tom said. "Good morning," Maya replied. Soon Neela and Roa woke as well. They stretched their stiff arms and legs. The cold from the journey had settled deep into their bones. Tom placed a pot over the fire and warmed water. He gave them simple food. It was not much, but it was enough. Outside, the land was hidden under snow. Trees stood still, and the sky stayed gray. Tom looked out the window and shook his head. "The storm will last today," he said. "Travel will be hard." Maya understood. She exchanged a glance with the others. "Then we are grateful to stay," she said. Tom nodded. "You are welcome." The day moved slowly. Tom fed the animals while the women stayed inside. When he returned, his boots were wet, and his face was red from the cold. Maya noticed and offered to help warm his hands near the fire. Tom hesitated but then sat closer to the flames. As hours passed, the silence between them changed. It no longer felt heavy. It felt calm. Roa helped clean the small room. Neela repaired a tear in her blanket using careful hands. Maya watched everything quietly, her eyes thoughtful. Tom finally spoke. "Where were you heading before the storm?" Maya took a moment before answering. "We were moving east. Our home is no longer safe." Tom did not ask why. He understood that some stories were painful to tell. "The land is harsh in winter," he said. "Many do not survive it." "We know," Maya replied. As the fire cracked, Maya began to speak more. She talked about their journey, about walking long hours and resting only when needed. She spoke of hope and strength. Tom listened closely. He respected the calm way she spoke, without fear or anger. In return, Tom shared a little of his own life. He spoke of the ranch, of caring for animals, of long winters. He did not speak of his wife, but Maya could feel her presence in the quiet corners of the room. At midday, the snow slowed. Tom went outside to check the barn again. When he returned, he looked surprised. "There are tracks," he said. "Fresh ones." Maya stood at once. "Human tracks." "Yes," Tom said. "Someone else is near." The women grew alert. Travel during storms was dangerous, but not impossible. Tom knew the land, and something felt wrong. "We should stay inside," Tom said. "If someone needs help, they will come." They waited. An hour passed. Then another knock came at the door. Tom stood and opened it carefully. A man stood outside, wrapped in heavy clothing. His face was hard, and his eyes searched the room quickly. "I saw smoke," the man said. "Thought someone might be here." Tom stepped forward. "This is my ranch," he said calmly. The man glanced past Tom and saw the women. His expression changed. Maya felt tension rise. "They are my guests," Tom said firmly. The man hesitated, then nodded. "I am passing through," he said. "Storm caught me too." Tom studied him. He did not like the man's sharp gaze, but winter allowed little choice. "You may warm yourself," Tom said. "Then you must leave." The man entered and stood near the fire. He said little. His presence felt heavy. Neela and Roa stayed close to Maya. After some time, the man finished warming himself. "Thank you," he said. He turned and left without another word. When the door closed, the room felt lighter again. "You did well," Maya said to Tom. Tom shrugged. "This land teaches caution." As evening returned, the storm finally eased. Snow stopped falling. The sky cleared enough to show pale light from the moon. The world outside looked new and untouched. Maya stood near the window. "We will leave tomorrow," she said. "We do not wish to trouble you longer." Tom felt a strange tightness in his chest. "You are not trouble," he said. "But the path east is still dangerous." Maya nodded. "We will be careful." That night, the fire burned bright again. They shared another meal and quiet words. Tom felt something he had not felt in a long time. Purpose. As he lay down to rest, he realized that meeting these women had changed something inside him. The house no longer felt empty. The land no longer felt silent. Outside, the snow reflected moonlight. Inside, lives crossed for a short time, leaving marks that would not fade easily. The next morning arrived clear and cold. The storm had passed during the night, leaving the valley silent and bright. Snow covered every hill and tree, shining under the pale winter sun. The air felt sharp but clean, and the world seemed new. Tom stepped outside early to check the land. His boots pressed deep into the fresh snow. The animals were calm, and the fences held strong. When he looked toward the horizon, he saw long white paths stretching far away. Travel was possible now, but still dangerous. Inside the house, Maya woke the others. Neela and Roa gathered their small belongings. They moved quietly, with respect for the space that had sheltered them. Maya stood near the fire, watching the flames one last time. Tom returned inside and placed warm food on the table. "Eat first," he said. The cold waits for no one. They ate together. The mood was calm but heavy. Everyone knew this morning would bring change. Roa smiled gently at Tom. "Your home gave us safety," she said. "We will remember this." Tom nodded, unsure how to respond. He was not used to such words. After the meal, Maya spoke. "We plan to leave today. The storm is gone." Tom looked at her. "The eastern path crosses open ground," he said. "The wind will be strong." Maya listened carefully. "Is there another way?" "There is a river path," Tom said. "It is longer, but safer." Maya considered this. "Would you show us?" Tom paused. He had not expected that. His ranch needed care, and winter was not forgiving. Still, something inside him pushed him to help. "I can guide you part of the way," he said. Neela and Roa looked surprised. Maya met Tom's eyes. "You would do this for us?" Tom nodded. No one should face winter alone. They prepared quickly. Tom packed food, water, and extra cloth. He tied his coat tight and checked the sky. The women wrapped their blankets and secured their bags. When everything was ready, they stepped outside together. The land felt quiet as they walked. Snow crunched under their feet. The river path lay ahead, winding through trees and low hills. Tom walked in front, clearing the way. Maya followed close behind, watching the land with careful eyes. As they walked, Maya spoke of her people. She talked about learning from the land, about patience and strength. Tom listened. He felt respect grow with every word. Neela asked Tom about the ranch. He told her how he built it with his wife, board by board. He spoke of long summers and hard winters. He did not speak of loss, but it was there, between his words. After hours of walking, they reached a place where the river curved sharply. Tall trees stood close, blocking the wind. Tom stopped. "This is where I turn back," he said. "Follow the river east. It will guide you." Maya felt a weight settle in her chest. She had grown used to his steady presence. "You have already given us more than enough," she said. Tom nodded. "The land will take care of you now." They stood in silence for a moment. Then Maya stepped forward and placed her hand over her heart. "You gave shelter without asking who we were. That kindness matters." Tom lowered his head. "Safe travels." Neela and Roa thanked him as well. Then the women turned and walked east, their figures slowly blending into the white land. Tom watched until they were gone. Then he turned back toward the ranch, walking alone again. The silence returned, but it felt different now. It was not empty. It was thoughtful. When Tom reached the ranch, he went about his work. He fed the animals and checked supplies. Yet his mind often returned to the river path and the three women walking into the distance. Days passed. Winter continued. Snow fell again, lighter this time. Tom kept busy, but something had changed. He found himself looking east more often. One afternoon, he noticed movement near the fence. He approached carefully. A small bundle lay near the gate. Inside it were herbs and dried food. On top rested a simple symbol carved into wood. Tom recognized it as a sign of thanks. He held the symbol in his hand for a long time. A quiet smile touched his face. That night, Tom sat by the fire and thought about the meaning of shelter. It was more than walls and warmth. It was choice. It was care. It was opening a door when the world was cold. Far away, Maya, Neela, and Roa followed the river path. The journey was hard, but their hearts were lighter. They spoke of the rancher who had helped them without question. His kindness became part of their story, one they would carry forward. Winter still held the land in its grip, but kindness had left its mark. The paths of 4 lives had crossed for a short time, changing them all. And though distance now separated them, the bond formed during that long winter night remained strong, carried by memory and respect. Winter slowly loosened its hold on the valley. Snow still covered the land, but the sun stayed longer in the sky. The cold remained, yet there was a hint of change in the air. Tom felt it each morning when he stepped outside. The land was preparing to move forward. Tom continued his daily work. He repaired fences, checked the animals, and cleared paths through the snow. Life followed its usual rhythm, but his thoughts often traveled east. He wondered how Maya, Neela, and Roa were doing. He hoped the river path had kept them safe. One afternoon, while Tom worked near the barn, he noticed a thin line of smoke rising far across the land. Smoke meant people. His heart beat faster, not from fear but from curiosity. Visitors were rare in winter. As the sun lowered, 3 figures appeared on the horizon. They walked slowly but with purpose. Tom stood still, watching. When they came closer, he recognized them. It was Maya, Neela, and Roa. Tom felt a sudden warmth spread through him. He walked forward to meet them. "You returned," he said, unable to hide his surprise. Maya smiled. "We did," she said. "The river path led us to safety. We found a place to rest, but winter there was harder than expected." Neela added, "We remembered your land. It is strong." Tom nodded. "You are welcome here." They entered the ranch once again. The house felt different now, less silent, more alive. Tom prepared food while the women warmed themselves. The fire burned bright, and shadows danced on the walls. That evening, they shared stories. Maya spoke of their time away, of helping others along the path, of learning new ways to survive. Tom spoke of the ranch, of the land slowly changing under the sun. You helped us when we needed it most, Maya said. We wish to return that kindness. Tom listened quietly. The next days passed peacefully. The women stayed and helped with the ranch. Neela worked with the animals, gentle and patient. Roa helped repair tools and clear snow. Maya worked beside Tom, learning the land and its rhythms. The ranch changed with them there. Laughter returned in small ways. Meals felt warmer. Even the animals seemed calmer. One morning, Tom watched Maya stand at the edge of the field, studying the horizon. You miss your people, he said. Yes, Maya replied. But the land speaks to us in many places. Tom understood. This land has room, he said, for those who respect it. Maya met his gaze. Would you allow us to stay? Not as guests, but as neighbors. Tom felt the weight of her words. He had lived alone for a long time. Sharing land meant trust. It meant change. He thought of the empty nights before they arrived. He thought of the warmth they brought. Yes, he said finally. You may stay. Relief crossed their faces. That decision marked a turning point. Together, they planned small shelters near the ranch. They shared work and knowledge. Maya taught Tom new ways to store food. Tom taught them how to care for the animals during late winter. Days turned into weeks. Snow melted slowly, revealing earth beneath. Green began to return to the valley. The land breathed again. Tom felt stronger. Purpose filled his days. He was no longer just surviving winter. He was building something new. One evening, they sat outside watching the sunset paint the snow with soft colors. Maya spoke quietly. Shelter is not only a roof, she said. It is a promise. Tom nodded. A promise to protect. Their lives had joined in a simple way, without force or fear. Trust grew through shared effort and respect. As spring approached, the ranch stood as a place of safety and cooperation. Word of it traveled slowly across the land, carried by those who passed through. The valley, once silent, now held quiet hope. And though winter still lingered, its power was fading. New paths were forming, shaped by kindness and choice. Tom looked at the land and felt something he had not felt in years. He was not alone anymore. Spring arrived quietly in the valley. The snow melted day by day, turning into small streams that fed the river. The ground softened, and green shoots appeared where white once ruled. The land felt alive again. Tom stood outside one morning and breathed in the fresh air. The ranch no longer felt like a place of waiting. It felt like a place of growth. Maya, Neela, and Roa had been living nearby for weeks now, and their presence had changed everything together. They built simple shelters near the ranch. Nothing fancy, only strong and practical. Tom helped with wood and tools. The women helped with planning and careful work. Each shelter stood as a sign of shared effort. Life settled into a steady rhythm. At sunrise, work began. At sunset, stories were shared. The days were full, but not heavy. Tom found himself smiling more often. The quiet pain he carried did not disappear, but it softened. Maya became a bridge between worlds. She respected Tom's ways and shared her own knowledge with care. She taught him how to read signs in the sky and soil. He showed her how to protect animals from sudden storms. Learning went both ways. Neela worked closely with the horses. They trusted her calm presence. Roa repaired tools and improved storage spaces, making the ranch more prepared for future winters. Each person had a role, and each role mattered. One afternoon, a small group of travelers passed through the valley. They were tired and unsure. Tom welcomed them and offered water and rest. Maya spoke with them kindly. The travelers left with gratitude and spread word of a safe place in the valley. Soon, more visitors came. Some stayed briefly. Some stayed longer. All respected the land and the people who cared for it. The ranch slowly became more than a home. It became a place of shelter. Tom noticed the change one evening as he stood near the fence. The land no longer felt empty. It felt shared. He realized that his wife would have liked this. The thought brought comfort instead of pain. One night, as stars filled the sky, Tom and Maya sat near the fire outside. The air was cool, but gentle. You have changed, Maya said softly. So have you, Tom replied. Maya nodded. This land helped us find balance. Tom looked toward the shelters, glowing faintly in the firelight. I spent many years alone, he said. I thought that was the only way. Alone can keep a person safe, Maya said, but together can help a person grow. Tom understood that truth now. As summer approached, the valley showed its strength. Crops were planted. Animals grew healthier. Laughter became common. Even silence felt friendly, no longer sharp. One morning, Tom found the wooden symbol Maya once left at his gate, hanging near the door of the main house. It reminded him of the first night they arrived, cold and uncertain. That night had changed everything. The ranch was no longer just Tom's. It belonged to everyone who cared for it. Decisions were made together. Work was shared. Respect guided every action. Years later, people would speak of the valley as a place where winter once tested hearts, but kindness endured. They spoke of a widowed rancher who opened his door on a cold Christmas Eve. They spoke of 3 women who asked for shelter and offered trust in return. The story was not about hardship alone. It was about choice. Tom stood on the hill one evening watching the sun set behind the valley. Maya stood beside him. The land stretched wide and welcoming below. "This place will last," Tom said. "Yes," Maya replied, "because it was built with care." As the light faded, the valley rested in peace. What began as a simple request for shelter became a new beginning for many lives. And so the story of the ranch was not one of loneliness anymore. It became a story of shared paths, open doors, and a promise kept through every season.